Hey YouTube, Island Homesteader here with a update on my compost tea. I've taken some advice and listened to watched a couple of videos from a couple of different people. One of them was Stymye, S-T-Y-M-E, I think, and he talked about compost tea being a very concentrated substance. That you didn't need to use it, you know, if you brewed a 5-gallon bucket like here, that it was okay to dilute it, that it didn't have to be used straight out of the bucket, so that you could turn a 5-gallon bucket, you know, into a lot more than just 5 gallons. So I combined that with a video I watched from Luke, MIGardener, who talked about not having to use a fresh bag of compost every time you brewed compost tea. Both of these videos made a lot of sense to me. You know, Luke's premise was that the main reason that you brew compost tea is for the beneficial bacteria, and you could take that beneficial bacteria, take an amount out of the bucket. If you brew a 5-gallon bucket, say, save a gallon, and put that gallon back in. Because they'll continue to reproduce as long as you feed them and give them an environment in which they'll thrive in. And that made a lot of sense. It's kind of like, if you're a baker, it's kind of like a starter for sourdough bread or that Amish friendship bread. You know, you keep a little bit of it and you feed it, and that makes your next batch. And that, to me, made a whole lot of sense. So that's what I've done here. You can see this is like my Compost Tea Factory setup. The white bucket is brewing the compost tea. That's got the bag in it. It's got the molasses and the fish fertilizer, you know, like I showed you in my last video. That's what's going in here. I just started it this morning. It's not really doing a whole lot. It's starting to make a little bit of foam, but I'm expecting by in the morning that'll have its big, you know, frothy head of foam on top of it. And these other buckets have just got water in them. Each one of them has got 3 gallons of water and an air stone going. And that's just because I use city water here, so I'm letting the air stones bubble the chlorine out. So these are going to run for 24 hours to get the chlorine out while that one brews the tea. And then tomorrow morning, what I'll do is I'll take a gallon out, the first gallon out of the bucket, and I'll put it in this first gray bucket here, and that'll be my compost tea starter batch for the next go around. So then the remaining 3 gallons I'll dilute into these 1 gallon each, and these 3 gallons apiece of water. So I'll have 12 gallons of compost tea basically out of one bucket. And then this bucket will make my next batch. So every 24 hours or so, depending on how the stuff makes, every 24 hours or so I'll make 12 gallons of compost tea. And it'll just be from this initial starter dose of compost tea. And like I said, it's just a matter of really growing the bacteria, the beneficial bacteria. It's not so much the nutrients that you get out of the compost. It's mainly the beneficial bacteria is what you're brewing the tea for. So that's what we're going to do. So here's the setup. You can see up underneath this workbench there's 3 air pumps, dual outlet air pumps. This bucket has 2 air stones in it, and then these 4 each have 1 apiece. So one pump does the starter batch, or the actual brewing of tea itself, and then the other 2 pumps split up and put 1 air stone each in these, and this is just to bubble the chlorine out. So there will always be 5 gallons or 5 buckets down here running. That one brewing the tea, and then these 4 just bubbling the water to get the chlorine out of them. So that's the setup. Again, it's just that fish fertilizer, unsulfured molasses. It happens to be Grandma's molasses brand, just because that's what we have at our local store here. So here's the setup. So I'll come back in the morning when this is finished brewing, and we'll see how it does. Okay, so here's the second part of the new compost tea system. This is actually the second time I did it. The first time when I brewed it in that white bucket, it was just too early in the morning, the light wasn't good. So I just waited until this time to do it. You can see in this bucket, this has got the compost tea, and this is actually one brewing removed from having compost in it. So yesterday morning I took the bag out that had brewed this bucket, saved the first gallon, put it in this bucket with the water, and then added the molasses to it. And that is what, like I explained, it's just like a starter in sourdough bread or something. So I've let those go. Well, it's been over 24 hours now, but you can see it looks, it looks like compost tea, even though there's no compost in it. So now what I'm going to do is take this bucket, take a gallon out, put it back in this bucket to brew the next batch, and then the remaining 3 gallons that's in this bucket I'll split into these 3 buckets to make 12 gallons of diluted compost tea that I will go out and put on the garden. So I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can keep this going. It does involve, obviously having to be here every day doing something to it. But I'm good for at least a month or so before I've got to be out of town anytime soon. So I'm going to keep this going and monitor the results, see what this looks like. So I'm going to split it up right now and get it out on the garden. Okay, so here is the gallon of starter poured back into this bucket, and I just fed it with molasses. So that's going to brew now for 24 hours. And then I poured a gallon in each one of these buckets. And this will be the diluted stuff. Now the only thing I don't know about this, and maybe somebody can help me, it's got a bunch of, I don't even know if you can see it, the floating white stuff in it. See all that stuff? It's in every one of them. And I'm not sure what that is. It wasn't in there yesterday. So it's grown in this last 24-hour brewing cycle. But I don't know. So if anyone's done anything like this, seen anything like that, let me know. It's also, it's grown, it's on these air stones. Let me get a good shot of that. It's on these air stones. You can see it's this globby white stuff. I don't know what that is. I want to clean those air stones off so that they work better. But if you know what that is, and if it's a problem, let me know right away, because I don't have a clue. But until it looks like something bad is happening, or until somebody tells me that that's something bad, then I'm going to keep doing it this way. So, alright, well, I'm going out to water the garden with this stuff, and I'll talk to you guys later.